Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening. Welcome back to another episode of Nothing Serious, Just Vibes. It's gloomy Wednesday afternoon in London.
Chilly as hell.
Before we start, I just want to tell everyone or shout everyone or whatever, just share, subscribe, like, comment. You know what I mean? And if you got any guest people, any guest ideas that you want, you can have a chat with, bring on. If you want to come on, you know what I mean? Holla, comment, reach out to us on social media at Just Vibes. And yeah, we'll reach out, we'll contact you and we'll let you know. We can do that, man, no problem. And we'll also shout out our sponsors, Nyota Gemma. So Nyota and Gemma are a land acquisition company. So if you're interested in land in Kenya, holla at them, nyotangemma.co.uk. Very good people out there, man, and very good rates, very good payment plans. Loxall Clothing. So they are a Kenyan-owned brand based in London. Very high-quality clothing, very beautiful brand, very good people out there as well, man. Holla at them, tell them I sent you. And Betty's Unisex Salon, you know what I'm saying? If you see my hair, it's always patterned by them. But yeah, man, in today's episode, we've got someone special, you know?
Wow, okay.
Yeah. Compliment off the bat.
Thank you.
We've got someone special. Welcome to the show, man. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Saitabao.
Yes,
Is it Saitabao?
Yes.
Saitabao Kaiyare.
Saitabao Kaiyare, spot on.
Okay. I have to start with that one because I didn't want to get it wrong.
No.
So I even wrote it down
Spot on.
in bold.
Spot on.
Saitabao Kaiyare. So, yeah, man, thank you so much for coming on, man. Really appreciate
Thanks
you.
for having me. I really appreciate it.
Really appreciate you coming on because I mean it was a quick turnaround. You know, by the time we contacted each other and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So you didn't have to do this, but you came out and you were like, yes, I'm good to go. So I really appreciate that, man. Thank you so much, man.
Yeah.
We just want to kind of explore who you are, what you do, why you're here, essentially, because there's a massive reason. There's a big reason, and you know, it's something that's in the current, you know, political scape, whatever you might call it, sphere. It's been spoken about. It's a weird conversation because some people want to have it, some people don't want to have it, some people act like they want to have it, but they don't really want, you know, it's like a weird conversation. So we'll get into that in a second, but tell me about yourself a little bit. You know, where are you from in Kenya? Mm-hmm. I take it you're Kenyan.
Yeah, definitely. 100% Kenyan. As Kenyan as it gets.
As Kenyan as it gets. I love that. Yeah. So tell me a bit about yourself, man.
Yeah. So like just did the introduction.
Yeah.
My name is Saitabao Kaiyare.
Mm-hmm.
I am a filmmaker from Kenya. I'm currently residing in Kilifi. I moved from Nairobi.
Wow.
I used to live in Nairobi, but went to Kilifi. But I've been a filmmaker for the last 9 years.
Okay.
Yeah, so I do different types of genres of films.
Mm-hmm.
So from fiction to documentaries to weird stuff. Basically, I'm just a very independent filmmaker.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dope.
Yeah, also I am one half of a production company called Baru Collective,
Mm-hmm.
which my business partner Mumo Liku and I run it together. So it's just basically a collective of artists, but mainly we focus in filmmaking. Yeah.
Oh, nice, man. Nice. I mean, you just said a lot there, and I didn't even know you're based in Kilifi right now.
Yeah, I'm based in Kilifi.
Wow.
Yeah.
So funny enough, we're coming to Kilifi in December.
I saw that. I checked it out. I checked it out, and I saw that.
Yeah,
so
bro. So
just like
it's
I had to
sent.
drop it.
Yeah. Let them know.
Yeah.
How is Kilifi for you? How do you find it?
Kilifi is beautiful.
How long have you lived there? Sorry, to cut you off.
Yeah, I've been living there for I think 1.5 years now.
Nice.
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
1.5 years now. Yeah, it's beautiful. The people are chill. The people are friendly. It's a small town, but there's sort of that community within the small town. So it's a very lovely place.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh man, you're really selling it right now. I love that.
Yes, I am. And fun people as well.
Yeah.
The people are fun and very chilled.
Mm.
Yeah.
Good place to go.
Good place to go.
Yeah. All right, cool. I mean, guys, don't forget, road to Kilifi. We're going to Kilifi.
Most welcome.
Yeah. I love that, man. I sound designer.
Karibu.
I'm gonna get straight into it because I watched the film today in the morning, and then I watched it again in the afternoon. And when I watched it first, I kind of watched it just entertainment, just watch it. But the second time, it was more analytical, you know, from a filmmaker's perspective as well.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed it both times. It was I got gems in both times I watched it. And I just want to get into, first of all, how did the film come about? You know, you and Elena.
Yeah.
Yeah, Elena.
Yes.
Where was, you know, where did that come from? The connection, the relationship.
Yeah.
And then the idea to make the film.
The idea. So basically, I got an opportunity to go for an exchange program in Germany, in like one of the best film schools. It's called Film Academy Baden-Württemberg. So this was through a partnership with DocuBox East Africa. So they're the only East African documentary film fund. So went there just for some studies, and then at the end of the program, was supposed to create a film together. So they just wanted us to create a film, a Kenyan director and a German director to work together on a film. So we were very lucky enough they didn't control, they didn't have creative control. So they gave us opportunity to be able to explore and just try and see if there's any connection. So Elena and I, we were paired up and we had a cosmos of ideas. We had different ideas on what we'd like to tackle. And then we kind of went back to history and to see what connects us together. And at the time, there was all this conversation about African artifacts in European museums. So, of course, we were a bit naive, and then we just thought, maybe we should take one object or a couple of objects back to Kenya and, find out what it is and what it means to the people. And then we found out it's very difficult. It's very bureaucratic. They say these objects belong to the state government. So,
we'll get into that in a second.
So there was so many challenges, and we came up, Elena and I came up with this idea, let's do an augmented reality of an object and take it back and find out what it is, because you find some of these artifacts that were looted. They say some were given as gifts, but others were sort of looted. They have a very painful history. And it was such a shame when we took this object. It was just it was collected as a spoil of war, as a sign of it's a spoil of war, and there was not so much history about it. It's just about when it entered the museum and the actual collector and what it is perceived. So for us, we went on a journey back to Kenya to find out what this object was by just talking to the people. And also we wanted to engage the locals, people, actual ordinary people in this conversation, because when it comes to the debate about restitution and African objects repatriation, it's always in a very elite kind of academics, people just talk about it, but we wanted to do it differently.
You wouldn't understand it. Exactly.
So that's basically the inception of the film. I know I've talked.
That is amazing. I mean, so you and Eleanor, was it like a thing of you were paired together, you met each other, or was it like you were paired together, or how did that come about? Because you seem to have a very natural, cool relationship, and then obviously transited to the film. So did you just kind of gravitate towards each other and then ended up making the film together, or was it like your teacher told you, you two together, or how did?
So basically, because it was 2 Kenyans, 2 Germans. So
how big was the class? Oh,
for our program we're just 2 Germans, 2 Kenyans, but we had international students as well. But the main focus for this program, for our program, was
4 of you.
Yes, the 4 of us.
Makes sense.
So Elena and I, we became friends first of all, because I feel it's very important, even as a filmmaker, the people that you work with, you have to sort of gravitate and understand 100%. And connect with each other. So we kind of liked each other's vibe. It's like, okay, you're cool, you're weird. I'm also weird.
Let's be weird together.
Let's do this. And also because I also got to see some of her previous work, and she also got to see some of my previous work, and it was like, we can let's work this together. And then we had this chemistry, and we became even friends while doing the film. even before doing the film and doing the research and everything. So it became so easy, and it became it was very nice and smooth. And that's how the film was made.
Came about. Okay, all right, cool. I'm gonna start doing the geeky stuff because I like the technical aspects of it as well.
Yeah,
you know, documentaries aren't easy to shoot.
Yeah,
people don't realize that.
Yeah,
they're very time consuming. A lot of research.
Yeah,
you know, you have to really know what you're talking about, know what you're doing, and then know the story, how it's gonna look at the end. It might change halfway through, but you have to have an idea. I get it. So I think for me, the other question would be like, did you anticipate the way it came out? Did you anticipate the way? Did it change halfway? Did some things throw you off a little bit? Did some things change halfway through?
Yeah.
Was it as smooth as you thought it would be? How was the process for you?
First of all, it was such a pain.
Right.
Let me just admit it. It was such a pain working on this film. It really took like tears, blood, and sweat in just putting the work and making sure it becomes what it is now.
Yes.
So we had to do a lot of research. Of course, because like you said, you have to know what you're talking about. You know, and both of us had no idea, no background of talking about restitution and repatriation, and because it's always very academic, very professional. So, of course, the film changed a lot. We had to do, especially when filming, because things used to change. Because, documentary, everything is changing all the time.
Of course.
You can't really plan.
Yeah.
You just try and follow the story.
It's like a reality show.
Yeah.
You're filming, essentially.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And but for us, the object kind of was the main protagonist. Initially, the plan was not to have the two of us in the film, like also because we do the narration. But with time, as we were working on it together, we had to be present so that we were able to catapult the story forward. So I'll tell you, we filmed almost 60 hours.
Wow.
60 hours, and there was a lot of travel.
Wow.
There was also a lot of resources that needed to be, put in place to be able to achieve what we were supposed. And we would like to thank all the people who backed the film, because the film would have not been possible were it not for the Film Academy, DocuBox, Hivos East Africa, Robert Bosch. So they really, really, they really believed in the story. So they really backed us up. And also the crew, even the cinematographer, the sound, the producers, everyone literally put their heart into it. Yeah. So it was very challenging. Yeah. So it took us, we started doing research in 2018.
Wow.
The end of 2018, and we began filming in January 2019.
Wow.
So it was a whole process. And also we had a very short time. So also editing the film itself took 6 months.
Bro.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Documentaries aren't easy, man.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can sit there on Netflix and watch a little, watch your little documentary thinking, this is nice, whatever. But you don't appreciate the art, the craft, the work, the tears, the blood that goes into that kind of work, So I'm glad you said that, because there was a documentary that we did, me and my so it was like an end of year uni project kind of thing we did. And I get exactly what you mean. You know what I mean? We were filming for about 3 months. We had about probably same amount of hours of footage. Yeah. And you have to cut it down to about 15 minutes, like it's so much, and find the story in that 60 hours or, however many hours it was. So I do get what you mean. Making sure the sound is correct, making sure that the visuals are good, making sure that everything. There's a lot to making documentaries, which is why I appreciate something like this so much. Honestly, like I can't tell you how much I loved watching it. Honestly, like seriously, amazing work, man.
Thank you.
And a question that I wanted to ask later on, but I guess I'll ask now. You touched on it. How big was the crew that was, I guess, involved altogether in this?
So we had a very huge crew, especially in both countries. Especially when the credits roll, anyone who really helped, we consider them
Love that.
as part of the crew, even the smallest, even if it's just a hint,
You're there.
or giving us directions, we had to appreciate. So, but especially when we're traveling in Kenya, we had like a eight person crew, because we just fit ourselves into a van, and we actually traveled 700 kilometers in Kenya.
Wow.
Trying to find
what
this object was.
Yeah. Doing the work for it. Wow, that's amazing. I mean, that you're making this like you make it look so easy on screen.
Yeah.
But the work that goes behind it, I have to really appreciate each time, because even in terms of so there was some people you just mentioned, or some companies or organizations that you just mentioned that were behind you, that backed you. How was it getting them involved? Was it something that was straightforward? They understood the project, they understood the story, or was it something you had to really sell to them? Because sometimes as filmmakers, there's a barrier to entry. There's a big barrier to entry, and sometimes it's money. A lot of the time it's money. Do you know what I mean? You're a creative, but you also want to do the business, and sometimes they don't really marry, because the business people don't see the creative side, and the creative sides don't understand the business side. Do you know what I mean? So how was that kind of, getting access to funds, getting access to people that would help you with this kind of thing? How was that process?
Yeah, the process was as the people, especially the funders who funded the film, really understood what we were trying to achieve.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah,
That's
but
good.
of course they were a bit scared, because also the topic in itself is very heavy.
Very sensitive as well.
It's very sensitive. It's very heavy. And it might, there's a possibility of, falling flat-foot. And also not having a good film, especially when it comes to this topic. So, of course, they did believe in us. But, of course, they were like, okay, you guys make sure, you try and do the best. And especially, we also had to show them different cuts, you know. And of course, they also I think this would be good. They also had some input.
Okay, so they're involved in the process as well.
They were involved in the process, but they really didn't take away the creative control from us. So they still gave us a creative control.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the process of getting them there, so it was just a matter of they were appreciative of what you're trying to do, the story you're trying to tell.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's what matters.
That's what matters.
Okay.
It's all about the story. Story is king.
story is king every single time.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. Another thing I really enjoyed was the soundtrack, the music, the the background. I really enjoyed it. It carried the story along.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I really enjoyed that. So that was a big up shot.
Yeah.
Shout out to the sound man.
Yeah. Thank you.
And the sound was always very clean as well.
Very clean. Thank you.
Yeah, because even the narration, between you and Eleanor, it was so you had conversational, it was conversational. It was really nice. It was friendly. It was explaining, what you're doing, what's happening, and that kind of helps carry the story along. Yeah. That was really dope. I enjoyed that too.
Yeah.
So big up on that. Another thing was the graphics. The graphics were really dope. The graphics they weren't too overbearing. They were just simple, but they told the story. They helped, shape the story as well.
Yeah.
So that was another big thing. So how long did you shoot for then? You said 6 months?
Almost 6 months, because we shot between January to July, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
In both countries, but of course with breaks.
Yeah.
In between.
Okay, so that was before COVID.
That was way before COVID.
Oof.
Yeah.
Oh, you caught a break there.
Yes. Very lucky.
Another 2-3 months and
yeah, because COVID happened in December, around November.
Yeah,
December.
November, December. Yeah. So that's God's grace, man.
Yeah.
You're nice. So then the editing, I guess the editing was done during COVID, or?
Yeah. So when COVID was just about to begin, because actually we did the editing in Germany.
Okay.
So by the time we finished editing and I was going back to Kenya, guys were even saying I'm patient zero, but I wasn't.
Bruh. 20 minutes in, that's when they told me that.
Yeah. So by the time I was going back to Kenya, that's when
things
COVID
were really,
was a thing.
Really bad, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, cool. I mean, yeah, I'm gonna get into the film now properly, because there was it starts in Germany. It starts in Germany, explaining what's happening, what this is, what's what. And one quote that I heard was you know, sometimes our culture as Africans is perceived as primitive and alien and, you know, different. And it deserves to be in a museum to be looked at, as opposed to, you know, appreciated. You know what I mean? It's looked at as alien, something different, as opposed to just we appreciate it, we understand it. You know, we're the same essentially. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know how did you feel about how do you feel about that?
Yeah, that's the thing, because the thing about if you look at a lot of Western museums, they have 90% of all African artifacts, and it's sort of like a fetish. They
Yes.
Yeah, they try. People they look at it as exotic, but the thing about these artifacts, they're more symbolic, and like all humans came from Africa. People have to understand. People kind of don't understand what these objects mean to people, because they also have a philosophical aspect to it that you can always learn from it. So this gaze, because it's always in a certain weird gaze, you know, and it's very problematic. I always feel problematic about it, because there's so much to just the artifact or the object. There's so much nuance to it, but it's just people are just blinded with this gaze because it looks exotic.
Yeah.
And people should try and see beyond that and try and understand, because all these artifacts like very symbolic and meant so much to the ancestors, and it also it's heritage for the entire world. But of course, you know, it's always painful how, because they say it as primitive, but I mean, all the ideas, some of the best ideas of came from the culture and from these artifacts.
Yeah, it was an interesting one, because like I was having, you know, I was discussing with someone about the film that I'm gonna have you on and stuff, and what the film's about. And the first thing they said was, I hope you've been to the British Museum. Have you been?
Yes, I actually took a tour yesterday. Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, so like all museums, the British Museum is problematic, but I have to say the British Museum is the most problematic of all institutions, because also the concept of a museum, it's a very colonial kind of thinking, like let's gather all the treasures from the world and
look at them.
Place them and just look at them. And when I went to the British Museum, I saw different cultures, and of course, it's not just African artifacts that are problematic. You have even Asian.
The history of colonialism.
The colonialism. You have even the marbles that, you know, they're not rightfully taken, but they're still there. The thing about the British Museum, when I took the tour, after doing the film, I kind of became an expert in this film, in this field per se. And there's so many things that are not on display, because you find museum institution always puts around 4 to 6% of the entire collection.
What?
Yeah.
So they have 96%
somewhere in the vaults.
Wow.
And
wow.
Yeah. I know.
That's ridiculous.
It is.
So was it the same? In Germany, was the same thing?
Same thing. This is the thing about, because they can't display everything that they have. They have other things that they do research, and some are just in the vaults. And being in the British Museum,
That's madness.
I know there's some other things.
Oh, come on. Like
very particular, because one thing, the head of Koitalel Arab Samoy is in the British Museum, but it's not on display. It used to be on display.
The head of
Koitalel Arab Samoy. Koitalel Arab Samoy. You have
to explain that one to me.
Was a Nandi supreme chief.
Okay.
Who resisted the British.
Okay.
So a little backstory.
Please,
Yeah,
please.
Just to show you how problematic it is.
I know Dedan Kemadi. That's as far as it goes. But go on.
Yeah. So the head of Koitalel Arab Samois. So Koitalel resisted the British, and he was problematic to the British Army during the colonial era.
Okay.
So they did a ceasefire, and when it's a ceasefire, it means you don't have to fight. Yeah, just chill. They went to the table, but they tricked him, and they attacked and chopped off his head and shipped it back to the British Museum. Yeah. So it's somewhere in the British Museum, and the family is asking for this head. You have the Pokomo, the Pokomo tribe. They have a very sacred drum, which is...
I've heard that one before.
Yeah. It's in the British Museum. It's in the vaults, in their storage. And some of these things, because they always, the conversation is always about, who will we give this objects back to?
And that's a terrible argument.
It is a terrible argument, but the owners... Yeah, because the Pokomos still have a king.
Yeah.
And the tribe have been asking for this drum for so long.
Yeah.
But it's always on deaf ears. So you can imagine what's also under there, in those vaults. So it's very problematic. And I know it's very difficult conversations, and we're not trying to blame anyone, but it's more of like, can we have a chat about it?
Yeah, at least.
Let's have a chat about it. Let's figure out how we can solve it. Because there are actually communities who are demanding. There are some museum institutions, even in the UK, who are, working in returning. We've had Benin bronzes being returned and everything.
I think that was this year or last year?
Yeah, this year.
Yeah, this year, okay.
Yeah, so that's happening, but it's still not enough.
Nowhere near enough.
Nowhere near enough.
So it's like essentially that because even if Ethiopia, there was something that was returned, I believe, last year or maybe to 2020.
The hair.
Yeah.
A single strand of hair. Difficult conversations.